All right, so lately I've been thinking about what makes a plugin great. What makes a plugin so good that it's a must buy? Is it how well it solves a problem? Or maybe it's how easy it is to get an amazing sound? But a couple of weeks ago, Lunacy Audio asked me to beta test their latest plugin, Beam. And they're supporting this video, by the way, so thank you, Lunacy Audio. And my experience so far has been really eye-opening. I'm getting some gorgeous results, but more importantly, I hope Beam marks the beginning of a new wave of plugins. I'll explain in a second, but first, some presets. Hey, it's Onesto. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel, I talk about plugins and the gear that keeps our lives musical and creative. And the simplest way that I can describe Beam is that it's like Portal and Snap Heap had a really pretty baby. You're given 3 effects called nodes to work with. There's grains, a granular effect that Lunacy Audio built from the ground up. There's spaces, a convolution reverb, and you have your trusty, handy dandy filter. And then what you do is grab these nodes, build out an effects chain. You can do a serial processing chain, or you can click this button, connect it here to suddenly get parallel processing, or click the button and connect it here to get a 3rd parallel lane, or do it again to get a 4th parallel lane. You can do this up to 6 times. But of course, you can make it as simple as you want. Or as complex as you can imagine. And right now we have these 3 nodes, but I was told in the future, more nodes will be available. So what you're seeing here is just the beginning. And if you're already interested in Beam, there's currently an intro sale right now. You can get Beam for $59. So click the link below to check it out. Now, I really hope that you were impressed by these presets so far. And honestly, I have a lot more that I want to show you because the presets in here are so musical, which I always thought a good plugin just had good presets, but I think more specifically, a good plugin has musical presets. We all have great, powerful plugins that are filled with presets that we'll never use because they're just too much. It's like they're trying to stuff it with every feature and trick a plugin has to offer, only to result in something impressive, but unusable. I chatted with Beam's lead developer, and he made it clear that out of the hundreds of presets that were submitted for this plugin, they only chose the ones that were the most versatile, the most usable, and the most musical. And I think they were successful because I don't think I've ever favorited this many presets in a plugin ever. And here's some more of those.
Mini skirt on day, my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. 2 fully cars, I make richer. Just save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with you.
Now, I think a big part of why they're so great is because they commission a lot of great sound designers like Databroth, Alchemy, Max Davidoff Gray, and Venus Theory, which bravo to all of them. You all did such a great job. Now, something else I want to point out is that within the grains and space node, you can click this little magnifying glass icon to find node specific presets and spaces that are very helpful when trying to build out your own effects. And if you love building your own presets, this is seriously such a cool feature. You can click this generate preset button that, from my understanding, isn't your typical randomized button. Instead, it gives some guardrails to what's randomized, so it's more likely to give you a musical result. For example, here's a preset that is spit out after clicking this button for a couple of minutes. That sounds so cool. And check out how detailed this preset is. If I open up the mapping menu, you'll see all the parameters that are mapped to both LFOs and the macro knob. And remember, this was all from this generate preset button. Okay, I hope I got your attention with what you can do with Beam, because now I want to talk about what's probably my favorite thing about this plugin. This might be considered an unpopular opinion, but I don't like looking at plugins that are only full of knobs and sliders and dials. It just doesn't inspire me. It slows me down. I'm not saying that these plugins should be avoided or they offer poor results, but what I am saying that from a user experience, it's less fun. But when plugins try to make a sound process as visual as possible, it makes me want to use it more. That's one big reason why I chose Serum over Massive so long ago. It's why I love plugins like Thermal and everything from FabFilter. And Beam does something I hope more plugins do. When I pull up this node, you might see a bunch of dots floating around a ball of light, but what I see is that we have big grains at a slower rate. The pitch setting is increased, probably to 12 semitones. The spray setting is up not too much. It has a fast delay with a low feedback, and the mix knob is set to around 50%. Now the reason why I know all that is because many of the parameters have a visual response. For example, turning the size knob affects the grain size you see here. Increasing the feedback knob gives the grains almost like a longer echoey tail. Now we might be tempted to call it a gimmick, but this is really a useful tool. The same goes for the space and filter node. For space, the category you choose determines the shape of the node, and the stretch and mix knobs reflects what you can expect. The filter node is pretty ingenious too. Visually, we can read what kind of filter is being used, what the cutoff is like, and even get an idea of the Q value. Now we've all seen how complex your processing chains can get inside Beam, so having this kind of visualization is essential. Instead of having to open up every single node to figure out what's going on, you can just take a glance and have an idea of what's going to happen, and even target a node that you want to change without even hearing the effect. I'm now a big believer that how a plugin approaches visualization is really important, and I hope that this is a quality that a lot of plugins try to do. And here's the last point I want to make. When I first opened up Beam, my immediate thought was, I think this can make me better at sound design. I don't usually say that about plugins. I'm used to plugins that make a complex process easier to do. Plugins like Ozone, Soothe 2, and Track Spacer, they all come to mind. These plugins provide a really useful shortcut, but I think they have little impact on my skill and growth. But with Beam, complex processes are not only easier to do, but I'm presented a sandbox and the tools to get closer to mastery. Similar build and effect playgrounds are available in plugins like Shaperbox, Infiltrator, and Snap Heap. It is amazing how fun and powerful they are, which is probably why they have such devout users. And as I used Beam, there were times when I felt like I was going beyond my abilities. Parallel processing with granular effects and convolution reverb, I didn't think I could do that before. There's a part of me that knows that if I want to get better at building out effect racks, Beam is a great place to invest my attention and time. And I'll admit, this is asking a lot from a plugin. A lot of them can't even offer this either, but when all these stars line up, it is really such a magical feeling. Thanks for watching. Later.